The title of today's event is Who Can Defeat Doug Ford? And by the way, some people have asked, why did we call it that? Are we somehow ganging up against him? And for the record, we did invite him to come back, but his office took a rain check, and that's their right. And so by default, the obvious question, because he's sitting this out, is who among you can unseat him? So Ms. Horwath, you obviously believe the NDP can do the job. So my question is how? Because you had an amazing opportunity last time, and you didn't. He defeated you. The stars were all in alignment. So this will be your fourth time trying to win. How do you make it happen this time? How can you be the dragon slayer that a lot of voters are looking for? How do you persuade them that you can do it?
Well, thanks for that question, Martin. And it's an extremely important one. I want to just start by saying the big piece is that we're going to build on what we were able to achieve last time around with the help of Ontarians who were looking for some change in Ontario. But what they got is a government that really hasn't cleaned up the messes that were left by the Liberals. Look, the electorate, if you will, they ran the Liberals out on the rails. That's certainly what happened. But we've ended up with a government that's not taking care of the basics that people expect a government to take care of. There are two things I think that are important. One is that we certainly do have the kinds of policies and the kinds of plans that will clean up those messes and fix things for Ontarians. But when you look at the math, there's also a great opportunity there as well, a great advantage. We go in with 40 MPPs, where the Liberals, I think, have 7, 2 of whom are not going to run again. But we've also come either first or second in 100 ridings last time around, where I think the Liberals achieved maybe around a third of that, a little bit more than a third. So when it comes to policies and when it comes to the numbers, we are very well situated to form government. And I look forward to that, because I got to say, being opposition and criticizing all the time is my job. And I'm passionate about that. And I love to be the voice of people. But I also want to get to making the changes that people need to see in the future. And that's, switching from the criticism to the action is something I look forward to.
Yeah, and policy is really important to me as a political columnist, and the horse race, or I call it a horse racism, it can get out of hand with in the media. But I do think that's an important point, and here's why. I mean, the latest polling analysis this week, updated this week on the 338 Canada website, now predicts that Doug Ford will in fact still come first, but that he will fall short of a majority government. So tell us what you would do in a minority legislature. Over the years, I understand you kind of ducked that question. You'd always say, Martin, I'm running to be premier. That's a hypothetical. But then last year, you and I talked and you changed your mind and you made a bit of a splash. And in case people missed it, let's share with the audience what you told me. So the question is, would you support Doug Ford's Tories in a legislative minority, or would you vote non-confidence in the government?
Well, you have said very clearly, and this is where I stand on the Doug Ford question, we're just too far apart. Fundamentally, my values, my beliefs, my policy objectives are completely the opposite of Doug Ford. So I don't see any scenario where I would support a Doug Ford government. I think that people, though, have a lot of time between now and the election to make that determination. And polls will jump all over the place. Folks are still, I think, focused on the pandemic. And as we get closer and closer to the election campaign, their focus will change. And so my job is to show them that we don't have to go back to 15 years of disappointments with the Liberals, nor do we have to stay with a government that hasn't made the improvements that people were hoping for. There is a choice there for a government that gets them and that knows that it's time to actually fix the messes and get back to dealing with the basics that people should be able to expect from their government, not the moon and the stars, but some of the fundamentals around our healthcare system, our education system, and making sure we're battling climate change. There's a lot of pieces that people want to see some action on, and certainly that's going to be my focus.
Okay, and you made a good point earlier that you came out with 40 seats in the last election. That gives you a huge head start over the Liberals, but the polls do show that the NDP and the Liberals are more or less neck and neck. I've looked at them closely. I'm not going to regurgitate them here. But it's fair to say you guys keep trading places, second and third place with the Tories almost always in front. Sometimes the Liberals number one, sometimes you number one, but basically it's a fight for second place. So if you finish ahead of the Liberals, you're counting on Stephen Del Duca to support you in a minority government. But just to be clear, if Stephen Del Duca comes in ahead of you, hypothetically, as he used to say to me, can he count on you to support a Liberal government?
Well, what I've said to you and to others, and this is where I'm at, I think that any, if Stephen Del Duca is prepared to support the things that we want to see happen to fix what's wrong in Ontario, then I would welcome that and I would be prepared to have that conversation. But I think the voters have a huge decision to make. And just, not too long ago, last summer, I was in Brampton. There was the renaming of a park. It was became Emancipation Park. And I had a number of former Liberal voters approach me and say, we went with you last time, we're sticking with you. I would invite all progressive voters to really look at what the numbers say, which as the NDP is the party with the steam and the team to get her done this time around. And I'm looking forward to that opportunity.
Okay, I'm looking at the questions coming in from Rhiannon and John, who's compiling them for me. And a lot of people are asking what I just asked, which is, for example, are you prepared to collaborate to defeat Doug Ford? So, I mean, I think we all know that is very top of mind for voters. So folks, leave that with me. I will try to pin them down on that one. But let's try to turn to some other questions.